The corpse president? The bore you to death president?
Joe Biden is deliberately trying to be boring.
He is the most transformational dead person I've ever seen in my life. It's incredible.
I'm Tim. I was a Republican strategist my whole career. But then this racist asshole crashed my party. And most of my old friends went along with it. All the way off the deep end. So now I'm pissed, politically homeless, and unshackled from all the partisan BS. This is not my party. Brought to you by the Bulwark. So it's the middle of March now, and there's this pretty important person out there who's barely been mentioned on this political show. Maybe you've heard of him, President Joe Biden. Oof. A big reason for that is old Sleepy Joe hasn't had much to say about the scandals and dramas that dominate your Snap Discover feed. Who knows what he thinks about Meghan and Harry, or non-binary Potato X, or Tucker Carlson trying to cancel women soldiers. Hell, he hasn't even said anything about He Who Shall Not Be Named, who was last seen in Cuckingham Palace trying to plot his return to power. Nope, all Joe Biden has done since getting into office just 2 months ago is sign a massive COVID relief bill, a bunch of executive orders, and go to church with his grandkids. This normcore lifestyle has left Republicans grasping at how to attack someone who isn't playing into their culture war hand. Here's Ted Cruz taking his best stab, branding Biden
boring, but radical.
Everyone can agree that Biden is pretty boring.
Boring.
There aren't any Biden hope posters, or Biden flag carriers storming the Capitol, thank God. Or Biden stands on TikTok, also thank God. So is he radical?
Radical.
Maybe if you're still living in the 90s, but according to polling analysis of his executive orders, pretty much all of them have majority support, except shutting down the Keystone Pipeline and drilling in parts of Alaska.
Drill, baby, drill, and drill now.
And the latest COVID bill, the American Rescue Plan, has overwhelming support, including from 4 in 10 Republican voters, but not a single Republican in Congress voted for it. So is the missing bipartisanship what makes Biden extreme and radical?
Extreme.
Radical.
Biden has defined bipartisan unity as
trying to reflect what the majority of the American people, Democrat, Republican, Independent, think what needs to be done to make their lives and the lives of Americans better.
It's early, but so far he's succeeding at being in touch with what most voters actually want and avoiding the divisive culture wars.
Mr. Potato, wasn't that in, that was in Toy Story. You gonna put a transgender potato in there?
And when the bronzer boogeyman beckon about this,
a merciless campaign to wipe out our history,
or this,
suburbia will be no longer as we know it,
or this,
and they especially want to take away your guns.
Well, that's just not happening.
Come on, man.
Biden's just not that guy. If Biden caves and starts to veer into less popular political territory with things like
I want to establish socialism in the United States,
and
We're calling for defunding the police.
then boring but radical might land. But in the meantime, Cancun Ted will have to go back to the drawing board.
Was it a mistake? Sure, because I gave ammunition to the knuckleheads.
Which brings us to just about the only other message that conservatives have when it comes to attacking Biden. Here's Ben Shapiro.
Biden can't remember where he is or what he is doing, but his White House is doing an awful lot, and you must protect this fragile mask for a radical movement underneath.
Instead of boring but radical, the best Ben's got is dementia but radical. Ben is supposed to be a master debater, but this is just desperation in the face of a president with a popular agenda. The Grandpa Joe is losing a step argument isn't based in facts. It's just Ben trying to make sure his fans' feelings aren't hurt since they're on a losing streak.
And you gotta feel bad for him a little bit.
It's also not persuasive. Some in the Bernie Sanders camp tried this message around this time last year, and Biden responded with a massive landslide comeback in the Democratic primary.
It's time for us, for we the people, to come together.
Biden's general election opponent also tried this message until he got whooped by him in the first presidential debate.
Will you please like me?
Will you shut up, man?
So if the right-wing media wants to convince themselves that the guy who beat them in November and is beating COVID with a vaccine for everyone by May is doing so as a corpse, then go for it. But until they come up with something better, Zombie Biden is gonna keep eating them for lunch. See you next week for more Not My Party.